Hey, what's up guys? Thanks for stopping by the channel. So for this video, I wanted to give you a quick overview of the newly released Tudor Black Bay GMT steel and gold reference, also nicknamed the Rootbeer here. And another common naming convention for having a watch that's made up of precious metal and stainless steel is a two-toned watch. And I'd love to get your guys' thoughts on two-tone watches in general. Do you think they're making a comeback? Or is this really a trend that's better left in the 80s or early 90s? Be sure to leave your thoughts in the comment section of this video. Or alternatively, let's take this conversation over to watchcrunch.com, a new platform designed specifically for better watch conversations. WatchCrunch is the sponsor for today's video, and I'm actually happy to be partnering with them because I find that this is a resource that I personally missed when I started off my watch journey and YouTube channel several years ago. Now this website is absolutely free to use, and signing up is quite easy and intuitive, and you can actually customize your own personal experience by selecting the types of watches and content you like to consume. Now I should mention that WatchCrunch.com was developed by watch nerds specifically for us watch fanatics. So you're not going to be finding a lot of negativity or people living that flex culture on Instagram. And whether you're just starting off in this hobby or a seasoned watch collector, some of the conversations and connections you can make on this website are very beneficial and can inform your future decisions when it comes to buying watches, trading watches, or just sharing your thoughts on which watch YouTubers you want to follow. Now I'm personally active on watchcrunch.com, so why don't you drop by, say hi in my profile. Now I can say that personally, I haven't owned that many two-toned watches. For my personal taste, I think they might be a little bit too flashy at times, or even ostentatious. But that's not to say that a good two-tone watch doesn't make a great dress piece. And I am kind of contradicting myself a little bit, because the first Rolex that I've ever owned was a two-toned Rolex Datejust chronograph. And one thing I can also say is that if Tudor keeps on making these type of releases of two-tone watches in their sports models, I might actually be won over. And that's because I'm really enjoying the vintage vibes and warmer tones that this GMT throws off comparative to their pure stainless steel reference. So why don't we flip perspectives now, and you guys can actually check out this Tudor Black Bay GMT Rootbeer in the studio. So now that we're in the studio, we can take a closer look at this Tudor Black Bay GMT Rootbeer. Now this timepiece comes in with an MSRP of over 6,500 Canadian dollars. That is a price bump from the original stainless steel GMT reference, but of course you're getting 18 karat yellow gold accents. But in the hand, if you're familiar with the older GMT model, you're going to feel right at home. You have the same case dimensions, so it's a 41 millimeter case diameter. Flipping the watch to its side, the lug to lug between my thumbs right here is an even 50 millimeters. Total case thickness I grab at 14.7 millimeters from the bottom of the screwed down and solid case back and to the top of this heavily boxed sapphire crystal that does give you some nice distortions at extreme angles. And it does carry anti-reflective treatment on the underside of the crystal, although you're still going to get some reflections under my studio lights here. Now I did mention that I found that this watch had a much warmer tone compared to the stainless steel version. A lot of that is aided by the gilt accents and the 18 karat gold that is found on the bezel, which you can see at the side. It's a nice coin edge bezel. And you also have a solid 18 karat gold oversized Tudor rose signed crown. And the combination of these I actually think gives you a nice visual trick because the watch does appear a little bit thinner to my eye because there's a clear delineation between that slab-sided mid-case to the top of the bezel and sapphire crystal. So the gold accents does break up how the case looks. And if you opted to go with the bracelet option, which is the way I think you should purchase this watch, the first end links here are also solid 18 karat yellow gold. The remaining center links for the bracelet are capped yellow gold, so you do have gold on the outside surface, but inside the center link is kind of a stainless steel skeleton. I'm totally fine with that. It keeps the price of this watch more affordable. And the overall, the construction of the bracelet is good. It is 22 millimeters at the head of the watch, tapering down to about 18 millimeters before you get back to the Tudor clasp, which goes up to 20 millimeters. It's your standard Tudor clasp you're going to find on your traditional Black Bay 41 models. You do have a fold-over security mechanism, and then you have to lift up this beak here to get to the milled portion of a Tudor clasp. I like the use of ceramic pin snaps, which give you a very satisfying and solid click when the clasp is secured. Unfortunately, they've only kept the 3 micro adjustment holes. I think they could have expanded it, or better yet, they could have used the T-Fit clasp system that was announced the same time this watch was on the Tudor Black Bay Pro at Watches and Wonders 2022. Here's a quick in-studio wrist shot, just to show you how well this GMT Rootbeer on the supplied two-tone bracelet wears on a 7.5-inch wrist. That is 19 centimeters in circumference if you're going with the metric measurements. Now, this watch does have all the links in play, and this gives you some wrist presence because it weighs in at 189 grams. And if you have a sub 7-inch wrist, or you just want to make this watch head lighter and more comfortable, I do recommend throwing it on a strap. That's kind of the way I would like to do it if I'm going to be wearing this watch in a good rotation over the course of a few weeks. Now, in terms of a dial design, it's pretty much identical to the original GMT stainless steel reference, except all of the printing on the dial, as well as the surrounds for the applied markers, and even the hand stack have gilt accents to them. You have the characteristic date cutout at the 3 o'clock position, and the date disc is white, but you get some high contrast black printing for the actual date. Closer to the 6 o'clock position, you do have the normal chronometer and officially certified specification for the Tudor in-house caliber MT5652. And they say they spec these watches at no worse than -2 to +4 seconds per day. This watch definitely performs within that specification. I'm getting about +1 second per day. And of course, with this movement, you're getting 70 hours of juice to the watch. It also has an anti-magnetic silicone hairspring. But it's still a fairly thick movement, coming in at over 7.5 millimeters. So certainly for more revitalized versions of a GMT, Tudor could really aim to make the movement thinner. Now, outboard of a dial, you do have an aluminum insert that is in black and faded brown, which helps with the vintage characteristics for this watch. And I did show you the gold coin edge style bezel. It's a bi-directional 48 click bezel, so it's a true GMT type bezel, and the clicks are extremely precise, and there's no play there. So if you want to utilize this to get even a third time zone, quite easy to do it that way. If you unscrewed the screw down crown, you can actually independently jump your local hours. And then if you pull this crown to extremity, you can actually hack the movement by stopping the seconds hand. And then you can set this watch very precisely to any reference time that you want. Now, whilst this is a two-tone watch, it is fairly robust because you do have 200 meters of water resistant with the signed screwed down crown here. Legibility is very good, and on the dial and the handset, you do have Swiss Superluminova applied to the markings, and even getting orientation at night is very easy to do because the lume application on this watch is very strong, and it's also quite evenly applied, which I was happy to see. Even moving in at a macro level, I would say that the Rootbeer GMT is a little bit better at QC compared to the stainless steel versions I've had in the past. The hands appear to be finished slightly better, and there's no fine particles or specks to be found relative to the previous version of the stainless steel GMT I've owned. I can't answer for everyone if I think two-tone is coming back. I can say that I was surprised by this, being in a fairly robust sports watch, but giving you a bit more of a warmer feeling tone to it overall does give me a reason to gravitate towards wearing this one more in the collection compared to some other GMTs that I've previously had. But as always, guys, I would love to hear your feedback and thoughts on this Rootbeer GMT. And if you do enjoy the content, please consider subscribing to the YouTube channel. It helps out a ton. And as always, I can't wait to catch you guys in the next video.